Hi, this is Simone with OwlCat Designs, and this is a tutorial on how to do the Vikkel braid, the horizontal Estonian braid that we're using for our Lavender Breeze Shawl. This is a version of it where we actually will be making the braid in a contrast color. Normally it's usually done in different ways, but so I'm going to show you how to do it. You need your two colors to start. You're at the beginning of the round, and this is on the right side of the work. Okay. You're going to use your contrast color. You're going to make one doing a knitted cast on. So you're knitting through the first stitch, but you place that stitch back onto your left needle. So you've made one stitch. You have one extra stitch here. Now your next step, and you're going to repeat this all the way across your row, is to knit the second stitch on the needle, the gray one here, in our example, through the back loop with the gray color. So it's really easy. It's color coded. You're only using the same color for the same stitch. And then the first stitch, the one you slipped, which is in the dark color here, you're going to knit through the front with the dark color. Then pull both stitches off. Tighten that a little bit to start, because you're starting with a new yarn, you don't want it to pull out. You're going to slip this stitch, the dark one, contrast color, back over to the left. And you're doing the same thing again. Second stitch on your needle, the light gray one here, you knit that through the back loop. Then you're using the other yarn. You're knitting the first stitch, the one you slipped, through the front, just like you regularly would, and then slip that off the needle. And again, slip the first stitch back to the left needle, knitting the second stitch on the needle here. Let's wait for the camera to catch up. Here we go. Second stitch on the needle, I'm going to knit through the back loop. So you're going to insert the needle into the back part of the stitch, knitting that stitch through the back loop, and then knitting the first stitch on the needle the regular way through the front. Pull both stitches off. Then place that stitch back, slip it back to the left. And again, I'll show you a couple more and then we'll look at what it looks like. Okay, through the back loop for the second stitch, and the regular way to the front for the contrast color stitch. Slip the contrast color stitch back. Again, through the back loop, second stitch through the back loop, first stitch through the front loop, and slip it back. Second stitch through the back loop, first stitch the regular way, slip that first stitch back, second stitch through the back loop, first stitch through the front loop. And here you can start to see what it looks like. It basically has this braid that looks like a crochet chain or a knitted cast off running across your entire work. It is a little bit less flexible, a little bit less stretchy, so you do want to make sure you give this enough slack. Use a bigger needle, swatch it first. Also, what helps is to remember that these stitches here can be the normal width. Make sure the braid is loose, because that's the one where when you're going to block your shawl, you want to make sure it has enough give that it doesn't look like this and it prevents you from stretching out your shawl. So let me do a couple more. You're slipping the last stitch on your right hand needle, which nicely color coded here is the contrast color, back to the left. You're knitting the second stitch on the left hand needle through the back loop, as such, and the first stitch through the front. Slip both stitches off. Last stitch on the right needle goes back to the left. Again, second stitch through the back loop, first stitch through the front. Make sure that that braid is fairly flexible. Again, I can't emphasize it too much, otherwise as you go to block the shawl it won't block properly. Okay, let's see if we can focus on it one more time. Also, for this technique I suggest start all the way on the end, just like I did here. So even though you have that 3-stitch garter edge on your shawl, it looks nicer to have this particular pattern go across all of it. In the in-between rows where you do the increases, do them in the normal place. As you get to the markers that mark your sections, slip them off, bypass it with, let's say, hang on, I will put a marker on here to show you how I would do this. Oops, that's awkward. Hang on, I almost got it. Okay, so here we have a marker. So let's say you're here and you get to that section. You would again slip this back, knit one through the back loop, knit the front stitch through the front. Oh no, you have a marker here. What are you going to do? Take the marker off, slip the stitch over, put the marker back on. So now the marker's in exactly the same spot it was before, you just basically bypassed it with this. And then you go again, knit the second stitch through the back, and the first stitch through the front. And there you are. Your first contrast color Vikkel braid. Yay!